Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're grabbing the whiteboard and tackling a massive headache in heavy civil construction. We are going to look exactly at how contractors can stop bleeding money before a project even breaks ground. So, if you want to build a truly profitable foundation, you are in the exact right place. Okay, let's dive into this. Construction business consultant Bill Kelton really hit the nail on the head when he said, most problems don't start in the dirt, they start in how the job is planned, tracked, and managed. Most contractors out there are absolute experts at what they do out in the field. They can literally build just about anything. But behind the scenes, well, their business infrastructure often lags way behind their physical capabilities, and that leads to some massive financial losses right in the planning phase. So, here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1, how problems start in the office. 2, we'll meet the estimating manager. 3, building the bid structure. 4, the bid assembly process. And 5, the critical post-bid evaluation. Let's kick things off with part 1, problems start in the office. This is really where the money bleeds. To guide us through this, we're relying on the frameworks developed by Bill Kelton. Bill has over 50 years of heavy civil expertise under his belt. He started in construction when he was just 14 years old and worked his way through practically every role imaginable: laborer, operator, estimator, project manager, all the way to executive. So he's seen exactly how jobs run in the dirt, and more importantly, he knows exactly where decisions go totally sideways in the office. And he knows how we can avoid that same fate. The core reality we have to face is that business infrastructure just isn't keeping up with field expertise. Look, right now, our social media feeds are completely flooded with advisors selling all sorts of flashy technologies: artificial intelligence, automation, you name it. But the truth? The real issue is that accurate data and basic business frameworks are fundamentally broken or just completely missing in a lot of construction companies. And you know as well as I do, you can't automate a broken process. Moving on to part 2. Meet the estimating manager. They are essentially the architect of your profit. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is just how broad this role actually is. The estimating manager is basically the unsung hero of the construction business. It goes way beyond just the bid. We tend to think of estimators as people just, locked in a back room crunching numbers, right? But they are heavily involved in relationship building. They're handling marketing, like advertising and client engagement. They manage business development through client follow-ups, and they are constantly tracking opportunities, from advertised public projects to word-of-mouth referrals. They even manage the specific delivery logistics of the bids themselves, whether that means coordinating digital signatures or scrambling to ensure a physical hand delivery happens on time. But of course, when it does come down to the numbers, the estimating manager has to be an absolute master of cost accuracy. Think of it as a 4-slice cost pie: labor, equipment, taxes, and bonds. If an estimating manager misses the mark on even one of those slices, your profit margins can vanish literally overnight. Maintaining absolute precision across every single one of these variables is the only way to keep the integrity of the whole bid management process from just falling apart. All right, section 3, building the bid structure. This is your foundation. A profitable bid doesn't start from scratch every single time. That would be insane. It requires 2 distinct sides to work seamlessly. On the left, you've got standard templates. These act as the external face of the proposal, categorized by market, work type, location, or proposal type. Then on the right, we have standard libraries. This is the deep internal integration side of things. The estimating manager has to ensure that resource coding standards, cost codes, equipment categories, and rates match perfectly with the company's accounting systems. And within those libraries, establishing standard crews and assemblies is absolutely critical. By having a standard activity structure and pre-built standard crew templates, the estimating manager isn't forced to reinvent the wheel for every single project scope that comes across their desk. They get a highly reliable baseline to work from, which saves a massive amount of time and drastically reduces errors. Which brings us to section 4, the bid assembly process. Let's see how putting it all together actually works. Let's move through and see how this builds, because bid assembly is a highly sequential gauntlet. It flows directly from scoping to defining pay items to team assignment into cost assembly and finally pricing. You literally cannot skip a step here without injecting a massive amount of risk into the project. Scoping is where the real heavy lifting happens. The estimating manager has to hammer out quantity takeoffs and material specifications, but they also have to look outward, right? What's the availability of subcontractors? What are the actual geographical concerns of the job site? How long is the estimated duration going to be? And honestly, is this project actually compatible with the resources the company has on hand today?
They have to foresee all these real-world constraints before they can even think about finalizing pay items. And here is the incredibly complex matrix that goes into that final pricing step. The estimating manager has to meticulously balance 3 different columns here: risk assessments, markup factors, and balancing. Look at how interconnected all this is. They have to weigh the company's backlog and geographical risks against home office overhead and those desired net margins. Then they have to balance all of that against the sequence of work to make sure cash flow stays healthy, all while considering contractual value caps and historical industry pricing. Honestly, it's like playing 3-dimensional chess in a high-stakes balancing act of cash and risk. Finally, Section 5, the critical post-bid evaluation, the aftermath.
Once the bid is out the door, the estimating manager's job splits into 2 very different realities. Over on the left, if the bid is lost, there's a humbling but absolutely necessary postmortem. They have to review the bid tabs and evaluate the competitors to figure out exactly why they didn't get the job. Now, on the right, if the bid is successful, well, that triggers a frantic mobilization protocol. Suddenly, they are prioritizing commitments, notifying vendors and subs, and helping the contract manager get things executed.
So the crucial point is this. For a successful bid, the estimating manager must conduct a preliminary review with the operations team. They have to sit down and clearly lay out the schedule, the budget, the identified risks, anticipated resources, and the expected challenges. This ensures the operations team knows exactly what they are inheriting from the office. No surprises. Just take a look at this massive, heavy civil site. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? This image is the physical manifestation of all that office work the estimating manager did. When a project is formally handed off and onboarded to the construction team, every single piece of dirt being moved out there is dictated by the scoping, the risk matrices, and the cost accuracy that was established weeks or even months prior. Which brings us to our final question, and something I really want you to think about today. Are your project problems actually starting in the dirt, or are they hiding in your unrefined bidding process? It might just be time to look deeply at your own business infrastructure and ask yourself, is your estimating manager truly empowered with the systems they need to build a foundation for profit? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you on the next one.
If you need help tuning your business, visit www.billkelton.com. Thank you.